them.
One, two. Check two. Check 1, 2.
There's no
Check 1, check 2.
money.
Check 1, check 2. Check 1, check 2. Check 1, check 2.
See, the movement at the back there should be highly minimized because of that contact there, that this in there.
Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2, 1, 2. Praise God. Hallelujah. Praise God. Such check 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Oh, hello.
That went from black and white to color in 1974. I joined them after youth service in 1975. And it was first color television in this area. Actually, when the record has it that a small country, island of Zanzibar, of Tanzania, was actually the first country in Africa to go color. They went color in 1973, before Benue Plateau in 74. As at the time I joined the television services, the excitement was television was going from black and white to color. And as a young graduate engineer, I felt that was a place to be, not for the money, but for advancement of technology. And so we came on. Bishop Bako was the one that recruited us into Benue Plateau Television. And we had the likes of late Patrick Itiohe, one of the foundation members there. Our own engineer, Isaac Wakombo, people like Cornelius Sogidi, Dr. Tom Adaba, John Ukonu, Joshua Hassan, and others. Those were the guys who were there before we came. And these were the guys that we had to learn from. what I've found over the years coming to the present day is that we got into television as pupil engineers. And for the first year of your pupillage, we underwent a lot of training. We had to understudy those who were there before us, learn from them, and then there was structured instruction to bring us to before we can have hands-on operation of the equipment. And that is something I find that is lacking in television these days. You get in fresh hands fresh from the university or the polytechnics, and before you know it, they're on the job. So there's some gap in the training, and there's some lack of professionalism over the years. The standards actually dropped. Yes, we are helped by technology. You have better equipment to work with now. As Engineer Maduka has said, even the studio cameras then that were color, you have to put in some charts to do registration because you have three different tubes to make up the color. You have to register them and do color balancing. Well, today, by a press of a button, you do white balancing and all the colors come up, gloriously. But if I may dabble again into area of at one time, NTA had programs that were must watch. Anywhere you were, if village headmaster is on, you must run home or get to where you can have access to television and watch those programs. Today, I don't know if NTA still has any of such in-house production. At the time, staff of NTA were no longer even allowed to participate in the NTA's own program, internal programs. And that made people like late Madazi to leave because they were more passionate about their careers, actors, and so on. So these are the issues. Cheap telenovelas, Maria de Los Angeles, and all of them, which, well, mainly with the housewives were popular, but that eroded the internally produced programs of the NTA. Well, maybe because I don't know whether it was a case of lack of funds to produce local programming, and the fact that those Mexican soap operas were coming at a very cheap rate. I really can't understand. But all those popular programs you mentioned were produced by NTA staff. Today, do we have a drama department in NTA that is still actually producing dramas today? I can't remember any recent dramas coming out of this table. Now, the private television stations that came in after the liberalization of broadcasting in Nigeria, a lot of them are more or less after the money, commercialization. When peace like a river attended my way, when sorrows I see billows roll, whatever thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. Though Satan should buffet, though trials should come, let this rest assurance control.
When peace like a river attended my way, when sorrows I see billows roll, whatever thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. Though Satan should buffet, though trials should come, let this rest assurance control. That Christ has regarded my helpless estate, and has shed his own blood for my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well when peace like a river attended my way, when sorrows I see billows roll, whatever thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. Though Satan should buffet, though trials should come, let this rest assurance control. That Christ has regarded my helpless estate, and has shed his own blood for my soul. It is well with my soul. It When peace like a river attended my way, when sorrows I see billows roll, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. Though Satan should buffet, though trials should come, let this rest assurance control. That Christ has regarded my helpless estate, and has shed his own blood for my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. When peace like a river attended my way, when sorrows I see billows roll, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. Though Satan should buffet, though trials should come, let this rest assurance control. That Christ has regarded my helpless estate, and has shed his own blood for my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. When peace like a river attended my way, when sorrows I see billows roll, thou hast taught me to say, When peace like a river attended my when sorrows thy spirit blows roll. Thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul.
Hello. Hello. Good evening. You're welcome.
Though Satan should love it, though trials should come, that this rest assurance control. That Christ has regarded my helpless estate, and has shed his own blood for my soul. It is well with my soul. When peace like a river attended my way, when sorrows thy spirit blows roll. To say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. Though Satan should love it, though trials should come, that this rest assurance
Good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. You're all welcome to this special service of songs organized for late engineer Edward Idris Amana, someone who is part of the NTA family. A painful exit that we've all come to pay tribute to a man who has demonstrated exemplary leadership, resilience, and excellence. Forgive me if the words don't come out, because looking at your faces, they're not smiling faces. The painful loss, especially when it's someone so dear to you. We want to welcome friends, families, associates, colleagues, people who have come from far and wide to come and be part of this special occasion as we pay tribute to a special man who has, in one way or the other, touched many lives. Before we go forward to introducing some of our special dignitaries who are present here, we'll beg your indulgence to please rise for the national prayer. Thank you. We'll take the second stanza of the national anthem. Thank you. O God of creation, just and true, great lofty heights attain to build a nation where peace and justice reign. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Thank you. Once again, you're all welcome to this special service of songs organized by friends and families, associates, colleagues who loved the man, the late engineer Edward Idris Amana. Unfortunately, he passed on at age 73. My name is Ruth Aguele, and it is my honor to be in your midst, together here with my
name
colleague.
is Ukeme Udofa.
All right, we'll quickly just recognize dignitaries present here in our midst. We would like to recognize the presence of the former Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Thank you very much, sir, for gracing us with your presence. We'll also like to recognize the presence of Dr. Tom Adaba, the pioneer DG of the National Broadcasting Commission. He's one-time principal of the NTA TV College. He has served as GM, NTA Macordy, and he has demonstrated a lot of passion during his tenure. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. We also have in our midst Mr. Modibo Kawo, former Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
We also have representing the Executive Secretary of Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria. His name is Umar Usman. And of course, we have the Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority. He's being represented here by the Executive Director, Admin and Training. His name is Nansel Nimyo.
Thank you very much, sir. We also have someone very dear to the late engineer Amana. I know a lot of us here are very dear to the late engineer Amana. We'd like to recognize engineer Bolariwan Yomi, former chief engineer at NTA Abeokuta. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. MBC, sorry, okay. I was just reading out the profiles. That was just the start. He has served as that position as the chief engineer at NTA Abeokuta. He also served director engineering, MBC, and also former director general, MBC, and he's a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you.
We also have one of our own on this other side of the podium, Eugenia Abu. She's also here with the husband, a former SE to the former national chairman of the PDP.
Please, a round of applause for them. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. We have in our midst Professor Armstrong Idachaba, former acting director general for the NBC. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much, sir.
The executive directors in NTA are also here present. We have the executive director of special duties, Adamu Sambu.
Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you.
Yeah, the executive director of marketing, Mrs. Betsy Iheabunike. The executive director of engineering, EJ Osagie.
We also would like to welcome and very key personalities who have contributed a whole lot and put in so much effort to see today's event come to light. Members of the committee who put this together. We have the former executive director, engineering, NTA, engineer Stephen Moses Okwanachi. Please, a round of applause for him. And we also have Mr. William E.J. He's also a member of the committee and a close friend of late engineer Amana. He's put in so much work. Please, let's appreciate him.
We also have in our midst the former Executive Director Engineering, Engineer Umar Seidu. We have so many engineers here. We have Engineer Gregory Badamusi. And then we have a former Director Programs, Multi-Channels, Ray Yusuf.
We also have in our midst Engineer Shola Taylor, someone who has served as an engineer with NITEL, IMASAT, ITU, a man who has contributed a lot in his field. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. We'd like to recognize all the directors here present from the Nigerian Television Authority, all the general managers here in our midst, colleagues, friends, families, and associates. As the program progresses, we'll definitely recognize dignitaries who have taken our time to be part of this special event. Thank you. Please put your hands together for yourselves. I know it's not a day to be joyous, but of course, it's a time to reel out legacies the late engineer Amana has left behind, and those will be done in special words, words of wisdom, to remind us of the impact he made in some of our lives. Some of us may not have been privileged to meet him in person or work with him, but you all would, attest to his contributions to the broadcasting world. Without further ado, we'd like to make welcome the NTA choir. I'm sure they're very set to please give us the opening hymn. Are they set for us, please? Okay, please go ahead. Thank you. Please, a round of applause for the NTA choir.
Okay, that's it first.
Fading away like the stars of the morning, losing their light in the glorious sound. Thus we will pass from the earth and its toiling. Only remember by what we have done. Only remember. Only remember, only remember by what we have done. Thus will we pass from the earth and its soil. Only remember by what we have done. Only the truth that in life we have spoken. Only the seed that on earth we have sown. These shall pass over when we are forgotten. Fruits of the harvest what we have done. Thus we pass from the earth and its toiling. Only remember by what we have done. Oh, when the Savior shall make up his jewels, where the bright crowns of rejoicing above, then shall his weary and faithful disciples and be remembered by what we have done. Only remember, only remember, only remember by what we have done. Thus we pass from the earth and we stand. Only remember by what we have done. Only remember, only remember, only remember by what we have done. Thus will we pass from the earth and its body. Only remember by what we have done.
A warm round of applause for the NTA choir, please. Thank you very much for setting the mood and the tone for tonight's event. Hello. Okay. I know in your hearts, you all know why you're here, to pay tribute to a man who has touched you one way or the other. And we want to quickly recognize, before I forget, members of the family. We're here, the children are here. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us. In your hearts, I know you're all aware, and you know who the late engineer Amana is to you. Every one of you here, you know, have your own special thoughts about the man in your own special words. But let's get abreast with, you know, more about why we're here. So we want to call on Engineer Abayomi Bolariwa. He's the former DG NBC, to tell us why we're here. Please, a round of applause for him.
Thank you very much for the beautiful protocol. And as usual in this part of the world, I like to stand on the existing protocol. My weight has reduced, so I'm sure it can withstand my weight. Why are we here? We are here to celebrate the sights, the sound of the life and times of Edward Idris Amana, a certified engineer of the Broadcast Engineering Division, a member of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, a member of the Institute of Electrical Electronic Engineering, a member of the American Broadcast Engineering Society. A beautiful human being, true and true in all its ramifications, in all the definitions you can give to it in the English word. A man who was the first director of engineering of the National Broadcasting Commission, the second executive director of engineering of the National Television Authority. That is why we are here. I thank you on behalf of all my colleagues. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, once more, let's appreciate Engineer Abayomi Bolarewa, the former DG NBC. Thank you so much. And very straight to the point, now you know why we're here. And we're getting to that moment where we get to hear from you the tribute you want to give to this man of honor, a man who has touched your life one way or the other. And we'd like to start by calling on the Director General, Nigerian Television Authority, Comrade Salihu Abdulhamid Dambas, who is ably represented here by the Executive Director, Administration and Training, NTA, Mr. Nansel Nemiel. Please, a round of applause for him.
The former Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, former Directors General here present, management of the Nigerian Television Authority, my former colleagues, senior and otherwise here present. I'm delighted to welcome you to this sober occasion. We've already been told why we're here, but I believe that for each and every one of us seated here this evening, we have various reasons why we're here. Primarily, to celebrate the life and times of one of us who, in going through the system, has left a legacy worthy of recognition and worthy of being mentioned and acknowledged, tonight. Engineer Amana was different things to different people. He was an engineer by profession, but seeing him in the course of his work, as he related with the various departments, you would be pardoned to think that he belonged to another directorate other than engineering. He was as comfortable in the news directorate as he was in the programs directorate, as he provided support to each and every one of these directorates. Even in retirement, Engineer Amana did not leave NTA entirely, because from outside he was still giving the management of the Nigerian television pieces of advice. And the Director General, who I'm representing here tonight because he's unavoidably absent, did mention to me a particular incident where Engineer Amana showed the level of commitment that he had for this organization, where he gave the greater part of his life. He recalled the early days of the movement of NTA from this site, known as DOMSAD, to the permanent site, and the challenges that he encountered. And one of the voices that encouraged him to continue with the movement to the new site was that of Engineer Amana. He recalled that he was so committed that he was on a trip from the US to the country, and as soon as he got to Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, on alighting, he took a vehicle. Instead of going home, he came straight, to NTA. And he looked at the level of work being done. They told him the complications regarding whether there was a formal handing over or not, and all that. And all he said was, "You are on the right track. Keep going." And today, anyone who has been, to the permanent site of the NTA would say that it was a decision that was well considered and well taken, thanks to the likes of Engineer Amana. NTA is what it is today because we are riding on the shoulders of great giants that went before us. Without a shadow of doubt, I make bold to state that one of those giants was Engineer Amana. For me, growing in the system, when I joined NTA, the fond memories, of course, that I have of Engineer Amana, of course, is his infectious, smile, which we are privileged to, see once again, even though it's in form of a picture. And he took in even young people under his wings and treated us as if we were equals. At a stage, you would wonder, is this an executive director? But that was the atmosphere under which some of us learned. Tonight, we are gathered to show our appreciation to someone who lived by example, to someone who exemplified integrity, excellence, and focus in all that he did. Tonight, on behalf of the NTA family, I want to say that we owe a debt of gratitude to Engineer Amana and the likes of this great engineer who set the foundation upon which some of us are trying to build tonight. I would like to convey our deep condolences to his children who are here with us tonight. Again, this arena has hosted, happier events, but I think we couldn't have found a better, venue to say, farewell to a very dear friend and colleague of ours, your father. He lived well. We are proud of him, and I believe you too are very proud of his accomplishments. So on behalf of the entire NTA family, we ask God to comfort you and provide you, the fortitude to bear this irreparable loss. I'd like to thank you and say farewell to an icon, Engineer Amana. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Director General, Nigerian Television Authority, Salihu Abdulhamid Dambus, who is represented here, beg your pardon, by the Executive Director, Administration and Training, Mr. Nansel Nimiel. Thank you. Please a round of applause for him once again. The words are painful to come out, especially when you lose someone so dear to your heart. We'd like to recognize the presence of the Director General, National Broadcasting Commission, Mr. Charles Ebuebu. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Thank you. We'd also like to recognize associates, colleagues, and friends who have joined us via Zoom using, I was told the Director, former Director General of NTA, Dr. Tony Iradia, is also part of those who have joined us via Zoom. Thank you so much for choosing to be part of this remarkable occasion. Please a round of applause for our online audience. We would also like to recognize Madam Grace Egbagbe, the former Executive Director, Marketing, NTA. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. We'll pick up with recognition as we progress. At this juncture, we would like to call on the Director General, National Broadcasting Commission, Mr. Charles Ebuebo, for his tribute. Please, a round of applause for him.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I was asked to give a speech. I don't know whether I should read what I've written or whether to speak from the heart, but I'll do a little bit of both. All right, because for me, I remember when I first met him, a perfect gentleman, and his considerable way of speaking, his advisory, his calm nature, his way of addressing issues, you know, all those things still stands out for me. And, you know, like I always say, it is important what people say about you when you're gone, because that is either true or false. But in his case, everybody here would agree with me that he's paid his dues. He's laid the foundation for us. For some of us who are just coming on the scene, he has been a pioneer of sorts in many ways in both the NTA and the NBC. And so I would say we're here to celebrate him. You know, we're all gathered here to celebrate the life and legacy of Engineer Amana. You know, for me, it is a honor for me to stand here today and to speak about the life of a great man. I recall when I saw him during the Africast event when I was newly appointed. I had no inclination he had any illness, that he was, you know, facing any challenges, you know. And like I told his daughter when we were speaking, I said, it reminds me a bit of my dad. You know, you would always, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You procrastinate on some things. But now he's gone and I don't have the opportunity to do that. But I do celebrate him. I honestly do. You know, he was not just a colleague, he was somebody that has a human heart. I'm told of the different roles he played both in the NTA and the NBC long before my time, the kind of work he did. I recall speaking to him in another capacity when, as chairman of DG team, his ideas, his views concerning the DSO, the several challenges. I mean, I can laugh about some of them now. Then it wasn't funny, you know, but he has done a great deal of work, apart from the work, the dedication, and the benefits of his work will stay with us long after he's gone. I also recall his jovial nature. You know, a few of those times when the NBC would have retreats or programs, and he would, you know, in his usual way, very jovial, gentle. In the evenings, he has his way with leisure. I don't want to go into some of those details right here, but it still brings a smile to my face, you know, because he knows how to be gentle. Will I use the word we usually use, enjoy himself in a peaceful, nice manner? And some of us, we took lessons from him to be gentle in our ways. So all in all, I want to thank God for the life of a great man. I want to appreciate the work he's done. The benefits, I pray, for what he's done would impact on his family and his children. And they would, long after he's gone, receive the benefits of the foundation he has laid. So I wish him, you know, that his soul will rest in peace, and that for the family, I pray God will give you the fortitude to bear this loss, and as much as humanly possible, we will stand by you at all times. Thank you. I mean, his soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. May we please recognize the presence of a former executive director of programs, Mr. Peter Igo. We also have a former executive director of engineering, Shaibu Nda Adama. And also a senior management staff, a former general manager, NT International, Ngozi Nsien. We also like to identify with the children of the deceased who are here. We have Ede Amana, we have Michael Uneku, we have Vidoko Amana, we have Junior Amana, we also have Iye Amana. We'll now move into the next program on the list and we'll call on the pioneer. We'll take the mic to the pioneer DG of NBC for a short speech.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please, I seek your very kind permission to sit down. First, I was not able to go up to the podium. And secondly, even if I'm here, I might not be able to stand for long because I'm still battling with the surgery I had on my spine. And it was just imperative that I should be here because of who Eddie Amana has been to me. So please hold me excused for sitting down. Ladies and gentlemen, if I am to tell you where I should start from, I'll say from ground zero. But let me just walk more on the professional things I know about Engineer Eddie Amana. The social elements are aside, not even to talk of when he lost his very dear wife, and his comportment in carrying all the various challenges that came to him as a result of that. Well, as it pleases God, they're both in his heavenly kingdom. May their souls rest in peace. Way back in the mid-70s, around 1975 or so, when we had the Benue Plateau television station was set up, which later became NTA in 1976. Engineer Eddie Amana came around to do his youth service along with us, the pioneering staff of NTA, then BPTV Jos. There were three of them, and they were unique. He, Eddie Amana. I wonder if Joshua Hassan is around. Joshua Hassan, who is somewhere in Adama or Taraba, wherever. And there also was one, John Okonu. Three young men, very, very active, extremely creative, and very professional. They came in at about the same time. That's a credit to then Engineer George Bako, who later became Bishop George Bako of Lokoja Anglican Diocese. Engineer George Bako was the head of engineering in Benue Plateau Television. And these young men were such a wonderful relief, I believe, to him and to everybody. because we didn't have any problems with maintenance of all the equipment in NTA JAWS. And our picture quality was very clear. In fact, the credit for being the first color television in Nigeria goes to Engineer Eddie Amana, Engineer, the other two gentlemen, John Ukonu and Joshua Hassan, under the leadership of then Engineer George Bako. They did such a wonderful job, and indeed it was a thunderstorm when it was announced that NTA JAWS was now in color. The others had to follow. Well, it's okay. We believe that we're quite in a very good shape, but we led, and thanks to people like Engineer Eddie Amana. One other striking thing about him when he was still a young man, I don't know what he became after, when he was getting older, was he never parted from a novel. He's an engineer, but he was an avid, voracious reader of novels. And that gave him an excellent command of English. He did a very good job of it. Thank him. I thank God for him for that. That's a remarkable thing in NTA JAWS. In 1990, when I was posted to Lagos as an assistant director, he had already been posted to Lagos as in the engineering department. And we're there. And one day, the governor of Kogi State invited me to come and help set up the television station for his people in Kogi State. And I had to tell him, Your Excellency, I will not be able to do this on my own, except with the assistance of some other people. And I would need 2 people. The 2 people are Engineer of then Bishop George Bako and Engineer Eddie Amana. He agreed, got clearance from all concerned, and we went in to do the job. Went in there in February. We completed the entire thing and started showing pictures on Mount Patti in NTA Lokoja in May. 3 months within which the television station was set up. And that was a record in broadcasting in Nigeria. Thanks to these wizards in engineering. The third was when I was appointed the Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission. I needed people who were to assist me in that direction. And of course, Engineer Amana was a very ready expert or professional who will fit in very well in the area of engineering. He applied, we gave him the employment. And again, his wizardry was simply unique, iconic, in the sense that within a very short while, we were able to get ourselves sorted out. We got the various things that needed to be to be collected for the processing of licenses. We got the licenses, got everything done. People now began to come in. But we saw that there was going to be a problem with equipment. Yes, with equipment. So we had to place orders for some machines in Germany. And when the machines were ready, we were told to come down to take a look at it. We went down there to Germany, Eddie and I. And when we got there, these people were treating us like, oh, these Africans might not know too much about all these. And let's handle these things like eggs. And indeed, what happened? The man who was handling it introduced the machine to us and so on and so forth, and said, we will take 3 days to get used to the machine. I didn't know much about this. Eddie was already an expert in that direction. And so when he said, why don't you take a good look at it? Eddie, go ahead and do it. Eddie went, he started off, he touched this, and this German was so uptight. He was hoping that Eddie would not make a mistake and touch the wrong button and what have you. Eddie handled this thing like as if it were something he had been handling before. He did it so beautifully as an expert that this German looked at him and said, we don't need any more days for orientation. This is what I wanted you to do, and the man whom you brought has already taken care of everything. So, and unashamedly, this German was requesting in my very presence that Eddie Amana should please leave NBC and take up a job with them in Germany. And I said, that's impossible. So within hours, Eddie was able to take care of this. And we got the equipment we needed. He confirmed that everything was all right, and we're ready to go. So these, thank you. These 3 items I'll just want to hold on to and simply say, these are things that make him unique. These are things that have made him the expert that he had been. These are things that had made him not just an engineer, a scientist, but also a humanist. And he has done a very good job of them all. He gave a very good record of himself in the NBC and made me very proud and made the ministry proud and made the nation proud. Eddie, I praise and thank God for your life. You have lived it and lived it very well. Meritoriously, and we pray that God Almighty will grant you eternal rest. We pray fervently too for the children. Please walk in unison for the good of your family and in memory of your very dear parents who have passed on. May God give you the grace and the fortitude to bear this loss, as we also bear the loss. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tom Adaba, the pioneer DJ of NBC. May we also recognize the presence, acknowledge the presence of Engineer Joshua Hassan. We also have Senator Nicholas Ugbane. Then engineer Nosa Osawe. Dr. Sam Negedu. We also have Mr. Mark Imakbere, also a former Director General of the NBC.
Thank you, Keme. And at this point, we would like to call on our next speaker to pay his own tribute to the late engineer. Of course, you know the late engineer contributed immensely to the broadcasting world. So we have a representative of BON, that is Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria. We have Mr. Umar here with us, who is representing the Executive Secretary, BON. Please, a round of applause for him.
Good evening. The former Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Muhammad, other invited guests, please permit me to stand on the already existing protocol. I'm representing the Executive Secretary of BON, Dr. Yemisi Bangboshe, who would have loved to be here, but due to other official engagements, I was mandated to represent him. And without taking much of our time, I will quickly read through his tribute. It goes, there is a bus stop for every born of a woman. It is the time and place that is not known. This is the mystery of life. A passenger disembarks, the bus moves on. Everyone to the same destination, but the bus stop differs. It was when I saw the photograph of the ever-smiling, soft-spoken, and robust-looking engineer Edward Amana displayed a condolence register opened for him at the premises of the NTA headquarters in Abuja, that it finally dawned on me that the broadcast industry has lost a role model, a mentor to many, a versatile yet very humble leader. A couple of years ago, when I met him at a broadcast summit in Abuja, I quickly recognized the talent embedded into a soft-spoken, brilliant, and forward-looking personality. Various activities and engagements in the broadcast industry brought me closer to a man that people always describe as their mentor and benefactor. I later become one of his beneficiaries. Engineer Amana's passion for the broadcast industry is second to none. He worked tirelessly without adequate compensation in his efforts to achieve total migration from analog to digital. The Nigeria system is a peculiar one. It can be frustrating. It can be so unkind. It requires the steadfastness and doggedness of a man like Engineer Amana to achieve what Nigeria showcased as achievement in broadcast digital switchover today. Engineer Amana's death is like incineration of Nigerian broadcast digital library. Although he has retired as a civil servant many years back, but what he had to offer made the federal government to appoint and retain him as the chairman of DigiTeam until his sudden death. Engineer Amana left broadcast industry when the broadcast industry needed him most. He died at a time we had hoped that broadcast digitization will have its feedback. Good night, our leader, mentor, and benefactor. May the Almighty God grant you eternal rest and also grant the family, colleagues left behind for the fortitude to bear the loss. Yemisi Bangboshe, PhD, Executive Secretary, Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, the representative of the Executive Secretary of BORN. Please pardon me, Mr. Mark Emakparu wasn't a Director General at the NBC, he was a Director still at the NBC. And I also like to recognize the presence of Air Commodore Ogu Onekutu, retired.
I know some of us here are aware that the late engineer Amana played a very significant role during the switch over time from analog to the digital transmission. He was appointed during the former President Goodluck Jonathan tenure as the vice chairman of the presidential committee. And afterwards, because of the good work he did, he was appointed chairman of the Digi Team Nigeria. And it's only proper that we hear from the Digi Team. We know that the deputy chairman is here in our midst. That's for the Digi Team, Dr. Tunde Adebola. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocols duly observed. In his highly insightful book, Ideas and Realities, Professor Abdul Salam, the late theoretical physicist and the first non-Caucasian to win the Nobel Prize of Physics in 1979, noted, "It is individuals that change society." How right he was, going by the life of engineer Edward Idris Amana, a towering figure in contemporary broadcast engineering in Nigeria, now, unfortunately, gone. Indeed, it is individuals that change society, either loudly or quietly. And engineer Amana did very effectively, rather quietly. He started his career as a broadcast engineer in NTA Jos and had the privilege of piloting the nation in its transition from black and white to color television. He later found himself at the Marina headquarters, plying his trade and bringing up a crop of young, brilliant engineers. By so doing, he trod the footsteps of the likes of Engineer Teju Oyeleye, Engineer Vincent Maduka, Engineer Shingul Wigwe, Engineer George Bako, and a host of other pioneer Nigerian broadcast engineers to establish himself as a thoroughbred and consummate professional, an Iroko in the industry, as some colleagues have described him in tributes. An amiable, loaded, yet humble gentleman, a very decent and kind person, one of Nigeria's brightest and best broadcast engineers. An engineer with the gentle elocution and clear enunciation of a broadcaster. His work life in NTA and NBC speak volumes. It is usually said that a busy retirement is a great testimony of a productive work life. As chairman and CEO of Factora Consulting Limited, he helped many private individuals in Nigeria realize their dreams in broadcasting and telecommunications. He helped a number of African countries to achieve what Nigeria is still yearning for in digital television. His stature in the ITU and the Commonwealth Communications Organization remain a pride to our nation. I personally belong neither to the NTA nor the NBC family. It was as a member of DigiTeam that I had the opportunity to move close to engineer Amana. Digitization was a mystery to many Nigerians. Even engineers in the industry found it somewhat bewildering, broadcasting without a local transmitter. How? Engineer Amana, with a certain well-prepared PowerPoint presentation, made it a subject that Nigerian broadcasters finally understood. Even the more technical aspects, such as spectrum, was laid bare with Engineer Amana's pleasantly patient mien. His outstanding expertise in the area of his specialization of broadcast engineering tended to sometimes obscure his endowment as a manager of human and other resources. Engineer Amana was a broadcast administrator par excellence. We at DigiTeam enjoyed the leadership of a brilliant mind. We at DigiTeam enjoyed the leadership of a brilliant mind and a fair-minded individual. The hiccups that stagnated the transition were handled with grace. His good manners, smoothness, and sophistication, which defined his extraordinary cuteness with which Engineer Amana handled the issues. It was from him I learned the expression "ato" as a decent termination to a needless argument. Whenever Engineer Amana weighs in on a contentious issue, clarity usually follows. On one occasion, when Engineer Amana resolved what had looked like a contending issue with so much elegance, the chair of the meeting, the then Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, here seated, responded, Engineer Amana knows where all the dead bodies of this digital transition are buried. Such was his knowledge. Engineer Amana lived a life to its fullest, in a peaceable, no-hurry way, almost in a slow-motion mode. Sometimes when he walks, his head makes minimum motion, giving the impression he might be sliding on wheels. That is the level of easy does it that characterizes Engineer Amana. Be it his pepper soup, his roasted fish, his pounded yam, or his drinks, in which I benefited generously, they all went rather leisurely. But now, he is no more. And the transition from analog to digital television in Nigeria continues to stagnate. May his gentle soul rest in perfect peace.
Thank you so much, sir. I know our hearts are filled with lofty things to say about Engineer Eddie Amana. And I wish we could give us all the time for us to be able to talk about the good and the fond memories that we had with Engineer Amana. But actually, for want of time, we'll appreciate it a lot if we could stay brief. There would be time for all the others, so that we could have time to be able to accommodate everything in the program. We'd like to call Bright Igbafere, the first secretary of NBC, to please come and give us his tribute. Bright Igbafo, sorry. Igbako, Bright Igbako, please pardon me.
Good evening, all. Not a very wonderful occasion for me to stand to speak, but I would like to appreciate the organizers for